Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the 13th race of the season for the IMRC Cup Series. As it's the second leg of the playoffs here, another chance for a driver to lock themselves into the Final Four at Homestead Miami Speedway here at the Chicagoland Speedway for the Menards 135. Seth Cole alongside of Jessica Shelton. And Jess, I think we both know coming into this race, with 107 laps, we are basically looking at a fuel strategy race.
Had to wait for the command to go by. But yeah, we are. And plus, with it being in the playoffs, you do know that they may vary their strategy in order to win this race so they can be locked into the Final Four.
The one driver that's already locked into the Final Four is, of course, Tyler Mallon, taking the checkered flag last week at Dover. So he'd maybe be one of those guys that we could expect to maybe go outside of the box in terms of strategy, try and pick up a couple more playoff points heading into that Final Four.
Yes, that's right. And the question is, based on him, does he relax or does he actually try to go for the win? See who drags along with him to actually win the race. Who knows? Who might be in position.
Well, playoff driver Richard Johnson's going to bring them down, and we are underway here at Chicagoland Speedway. We had playoff drivers starting on the front row with Will Goss on the outside as well. Shane Sides there as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of red playoff banners up there at the front.
Yeah, it looks like everyone wants to get up there. There's a little bit of work coming from the, looks like Dejan maybe? Or no. There's a car on the wall up here in turn 3.
Like that's Dunlop Prad there in the 31 car, the iRacing sponsored Chevrolet, as Richard Johnson's going to come down and he's going to lead the first lap of the evening.
And Charles Belding, I'm guessing, got a late start because he is now joining the race. He's on the back stretch, about to go in turn 3. And the number 28 Krispy Kreme donut vehicle.
Yeah, Belding coming into this race, I believe, as one of the lights playoff drivers. He's not battling for the championship here in Cup. And one thing that I know about this Chicagoland that we're seeing right now, is you see the two of Will Goss on that top side, is the outside line can actually work. It works maybe for the first, I would say, 5-6 laps, but then after a while you start to feel the right front tire heat kick in and it makes it difficult to turn.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the bottom and go from the top to the bottom and come off that corner and slide up and hit someone, and then your day's automatically over and no more points for you for the rest of it. And there's a bad warp going on back there. Hopefully they don't have an issue back there.
I think that might be the Talladega winner, Brendan McDowell, that's warping back there in the 66. But fortunately, he was up on the high side and not really side by side with anyone, so that should be okay. Just want to correct as well. I said 107 laps. I forgot that the laps they have are extra for overtimes. They have 3 green, white checkers if possible. It's actually 90 laps that we are running to here officially for the conclusion of this race. It's the side-by-side battle. Now going to be for second place. That's going to be between Shane Sides on the top side, and clearing for the spot is Natan Amiedo, another of your playoff contenders, who comes into this race 5th in the playoff standings right now, but one driver that is in the playoffs is not in tonight's field, and that's Dylan Schwallenberg.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad that Schwallenberg wasn't able to show up, but I guarantee you, if he shows up next week, he's probably going to be a threat to win he's going to be a threat immediately to win the race, because he usually runs well anywhere you go.
And, of course, the next 2 races they've got here before we get to that Final Four battle for the championship at Homestead is Twin Ring Motegi, which is a tire killer, and then Michigan that could also turn into another fuel strategy race, as Shane Sides may have gotten a little too high there going into turn 1. That opens the door for Will Goss. I'm sorry, that's not Will Goss. That's actually Dylan Pote down the inside, running the similar colors that Brad Keselowski put in victory lane at Charlotte last night.
And you noticed we were talking about Mallon, how he won last week. Maybe should he relax or go for it? It looks like he's not going to take any chances. He's already moved up from 5th up to 3rd. Now he's going for 2nd on Natan.
So many times when I talk to drivers during the playoffs that have a win and are locked into the next round, in this case into the Final Four, they say that you approach every other race with the aggressive mentality because you've got nothing left to lose. You know you're battling for the championship, so why not go out there and continue to try and get wins before the end of the season?
True, but it also gives you a chance to try a variation of a strategy in case you get another track coming up that may be similar to the one you're currently running, so you can try different things.
Now, I want to pose a question to you here because obviously you and I are both very experienced when it comes to this type of track at Chicagoland. I mentioned that it's very abrasive on the tires. We were told by the drivers pre race that the fuel window is anywhere from 30 to 33 laps, but more than likely, we're going to see some drivers possibly jump the gun, try to come to pit road because there is speed to be gained on fresh tires.
Well, it just depends if you can undercut the pit stop, because if you actually do a good job, as I see Blake Warren barely hit the wall off of 4. Um, if you it just depends on what you want to do. If you think you can undercut it, go for it. But you're talking about more speed with tires, and that's a good analogy to look at. But if they get real racy and there's a big group coming in, you stay out, because if they wreck, you can go a little bit further on fuel. You understand? And then basically you can jump the gun and basically gain more position, just be in a better position if they wreck and they get damaged, and you understand, right, Seth?
Yeah, then the one thing you also have to be worried about, though, too, if you try and jump the gun, it's very easy at a track like this to go a lap down if you're one of the first on pit road. And the last thing you want to do is have a caution come out in the middle of the green flag pit stops and have you trapped a lap down, have to maybe try and rely on either the lucky dog or the wave around to get back on the lead lap.
If I were them, and I would think I would think that most of these guys would probably go as not exactly. They might go all the way dry, but maybe they'll go 1 to 2 laps before they actually have to come in for fuel, depending on how fast that tire wear is.
And another thing, too, with the fuel window being about 30 to 35 laps, it's officially 90 laps that we're racing to, so you'd want to at least stretch it, I would think, to lap 30, try and make this a two-stop race.
And we didn't mention it a moment ago, but Malin took the lead from Rick Johnson. Malin's pretty much well in control here as Richard tries to figure out how he can get back at him, and they're side by side for third.
Yeah, Shane Sides way up the track there through 1 and 2 was battling with Will Goss for third. Now it's Natan Amiedo to the inside for fourth place. You got Toyota's first and second, and then Blue Ovals completing the rest of the top five. Right behind them, you've got the 78 of Roger Ray. Roger coming into this race only, well, points-wise, only 2 points behind fourth in the standings, sixth overall in the points right now. And, of course, Roger Ray having a win, I think it was at a dirt track earlier on this season that got him into the playoffs. So, been pretty consistent here to start off the playoffs in that Furniture Row Toyota.
And Charles Belding in the Krispy Kreme, number 28, he's currently at the start-finish line right now, and the leaders are starting to catch him and reel him in. So there's going to be a little bit of a hindrance with the lap traffic, as you see Cole Baker goes all the way to the apron there to try to gain position, gain time on the lead pack here, and they just seem like they're starting to settle themselves out, like they're going to a single file train most of the ways back before you get toward well, actually they all are actually single file now, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the closest battle we have right now is going on back there. Dejan Weeks trying to go side by side with, I think that was Austin Ogo. Dylan Poteet down there on the apron. And now as we kind of start settling into this, we've just completed the 15th lap of this race, or the 14th lap, I'm sorry. Now we're going to get to see really who has saved their stuff, who's going to have the long run speed. And I'm looking here at Will Goss now reeling in Richard Johnson. I almost wonder if the 93 may have used up a lot of his tires trying to hold off Tyler Mallon.
Well, I'm curious to see how much Tyler has, because at the start he was up in the top 5 group, fifth, automatically third, and went right to the leader. And he's trying to pull away just a little bit, so I'm wondering how much Tyler's used up, how aggressive he's been as we get side by side way back here in the pack too.
That is Cody Lamas and Dylan Poteet. And I was just about to mention Dylan Poteet fighting his way up through the field. Did not have the best of qualifying efforts here tonight, rolling off from 14th. He had worked his way up as high as 7th, but he may have used up a lot of his stuff in the attempt, as now you see Cody Lamas going around the outside of him. Poteet may be struggling now, trying to find grip after using up a lot of his tires, trying to charge his way up through the field.
And Cody Lamas, he was fastest in a happy hour actually, so with him coming through the field. Oh, there's a wreck back here. Brendan McDowell's around.
and so far, no caution thrown. I don't know if there was
There's
contact.
another wreck happening.
That's done LaPrade in the 31, and now the caution is thrown. Caution will come out here. I'm assuming it was because the 31 spun as well. I don't know if there was contact back there with our winner from Daytona, Brendan McDowell, or not, but I'll tell you who this really helps. That's Charles Belding, who, as you mentioned, was maybe about a corner away from going a lap down.
And this helps the other people like Blake Warren that were starting to lose drafts and starting to lose the pack too. And this brings Rick Johnson right back up to the back of the Tyler Mountain. As they're all, I think most of them, if not all of them, are thinking about coming to pit road this time or at least next time. So this gives them a chance to regroup and figure out what they want to do to attack the next line that we go for next run that we have. And so lap 18 coming to lap 19. Couple laps short of the P1 though. And yeah, they're all coming in, it looks like.
No surprise there, is we're probably going to see them on pit road every chance they get. There was what brought the caution out. Looks like Brendan McDowell just got loose up there on the top, came down into the passenger side door of, I believe, that was the 59 of David Alvarez. And then Dunlap Prad, I think, just was trying to avoid, and he had to get on the brakes and slid as well. So what could have been a lot worse, fortunately, was towards the back of the pack, and I didn't really see a whole lot of significant damage on either driver, so they both might be okay.
They're all teaming pit road, every single driver. Oh, it's a little bit crowded leaving pit road too.
Like Tyler Mallon is going to win the battle off pit road.
Oh wow, look at this, 3 wide coming off pit road.
Oh my goodness, they were almost 4 wide coming off pit road there. I think they were 3 wide, 2 rows deep. This isn't a super speedway.
But yeah, this isn't under green flag conditions either.
Oh my goodness, they haven't gone 3 wide all night long. Then they come to pit road and they decide to go 3 wide.
Actually, they did go 3 wide a couple times already.
Oh, did they? Well, I must have missed that then. But Tyler
They
Mallon
just settled it out though.
Well, Tyler Mallon wins the battle off pit road. Will Goss going to pick up the 2nd position, as that'll drop Richard Johnson back to 3rd. Roger Ray's going to restart in 4th, and looks like Nathan Amiedo will be in the 5th position. But we got, I think it was 18 laps, 17 or 18 laps there under that run, and we were able to kind of maybe take some notes there of who's got the good short run speed, who's got the good long run speed, and obviously this gives them a chance to catch their breath and maybe try and analyze, do I want to be a short run driver, or do I want to change up my strategy and try and save some stuff for the long run now?
There's a gap back here that I'm not sure what they're doing back here. They might... No one's going to come back in the pit.
No, they're going green this time. They've just gotten doubled up, getting ready to go green on lap 20. And nope, they called it off. Never mind.
Yeah, they're not lined up back here properly.
And indeed, I just got word Charles Belding is, I don't know if he was a lap down perhaps there with starting late, but it sounds like he's the free pass machine, so I think he'll be on the lead lap either way.
I guarantee you he's going to be really happy about that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Blake Warren, I think also Dylan Poteet, because that car was going backwards in a hurry. Unfortunately for him, the caution didn't come out soon enough. Looks like he's going to be restarting back around.
What do you mean? Unfortunately, I look at that as a blessing. Anytime you can get Poteet to be in the back, it's fun.
Well,
especially with the starting part like he did on Saturday.
True, but let's not forget too, Dylan Poteet has a little wiggle room to work with as well. Like Tyler Mallon locked into the next round of the playoffs, into the Final Four. Poteet comes into this race with a 20-point lead over 4th in the standings after a good run back at Dover. So he's got some wiggle room as well, but obviously he wants to finish well here this evening at Chicagoland, especially since he sponsored it.
Tyler Mallon, can't tell that's Goss or Shane Side 2nd. Then you got Rick Johnson and Roger Ray top 4.
And we are going green this time, and Tyler Mallon, the control car. Oh, nope, they called it off. Never mind. Apparently, Tyler Mallon did not restart in the correct area, so we're going to rack him up and do it one more time.
There's a... Okay, never mind. I thought the one was like dropping back on the inside line there. And I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It is Will Goss 2nd. Can't really tell because of the 2.
Yeah, that's Mallon and Goss in the front row, Rick Johnson and Roger Ray row 2, Nathan Amiedo and Dejan Weeks in row 3, then Cody Lamas, Shane Sides, Felipe Teixeira, and Emmanuel Hartnett going to complete the top 10. We talk about Tyler Mallon having wiggle room and being able to try and do some strategy here since he's already locked in the final four. But you got a lot of your non-playoff contenders that are in this field as well, like Emmanuel Hartnett, Felipe Teixeira. I'd look at maybe one of those guys to try some kind of bizarre strategy to see if maybe they can sneak away a win.
Yeah, and you're talking about the non-playoff drivers. What about the people who are sitting here who need to actually get up there to win and move on to the next round?
Yeah, there's
They
several
need
of
to
them.
win with the points
There's
standing
several
out.
of
So
them. I
people are
think
coming back into pit too.
this is kind of smart too with the fact that the restart was waived off. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think we're going back green, so they're gonna top off the fuel tank and see if maybe they can stretch it. Like about everybody from 12th place on back came to pit road.
Poteet, Baker, Ogo, McDowell, Belling, Felipe, like I said, Emmanuel and David Alvarez. They all came into pit road, and that would mean that pretty much what is it? The top 12 stay now.
Yeah, top 11 or 12 there. I think it would be more they're just coming down to top off the fuel tank because I don't think that like 1 or 2 lap fresher tires with them pacing, not racing, that's going to gain you that much advantage. But to your point of drivers that need to win right now, that are kind of way back there behind the cut line, you got Rick Johnson up there in third place. Right now, he is, I believe it's 9 points behind fourth in the standings. And two drivers in particular, Will Goss and Cody Lamas, they are both 26 points back behind the cut line. So I wouldn't say they're in a must-win situation yet, but they cannot afford to have another bad run here back-to-back weeks at Dover and Chicagoland.
And you see the big old restrictor plate race winner from earlier on in season, Dejan. He's up there in sixth as well. I would imagine that he needs to get going. Are we going back to green?
We are going back green this time. Hopefully the 18 will call it in the correct area at this point. And it looks like he did. We are officially back green here on lap 23.
And Mallon just randomly got a huge. He I don't know if Rick Johnson messed up on that restart or what, but Mallon's gone.
Yeah, Will Goss didn't get a very good start either, as Mallon left both Goss and Johnson behind. That stacked him up from about fourth on back, too. They were looking 3 wide for a brief moment as Cody Lamas gets a little loose through the center of 3 and 4.
And they're really getting racy back here.
Old Baker jumping up to the outside line there in the 42, trying to get a run on Shane's sides. This is back for around the 10th position.
And Ton, like, it's amazing when you see some of these drivers and you know how good they are on different types of circuits and everything, and you see them in the middle of the pack, and you're like, they're usually up near the front. What is this? And it's just the quality of how good these drivers are. That even the better drivers that we've come to know from past in other leagues and all, that they're stuck in the middle, and other people are actually beating them, and then all of a sudden they'll come out of nowhere and take it back, or they'll stay in there because of the quality that they've had all season long. You know, they seem to bring out the best in each other.
Absolutely. If you got better competition, it's only going to make you better. As back here, Blake Warren trying to make a run here on Shane's side, so side by side with Cole Baker. Shane seems to be going the wrong way at this moment in time as he's currently in the 10th position. Baker was trying to get the outside line going, could not make it work. And there you see the 28 of Charles Belding, who is now back on the lead lap. He's currently going to battle for 12th place with Blake Warren.
And while that battle is going on, LaPrat is trying to get around Alvarez, turn 59, trying to go around him in turn 3 at the bottom. Seems like these cars have a little bit of damage from their first wreck or the first incident. They're starting to lose touch with the pack back here. And this is around 16th.
Meanwhile, up a little bit further towards the middle of the pack, you've got a 4-car battle from about, I think that's 6th back to 9th with Cody Lamas, Dejan Weeks, Dylan Poteet, and the 95 of Nathan Kiani, or Nathan Kiani, I'm sorry. I'm used to the Nathan Amiedo name. Getting Nathan and Nathan mixed up here. It looks like now the 95 backs out of that as Poteet starts to work his way back up to the front, and I believe that was the 43 of Blake Warren again, getting into the wall off of turn 4.
Goes back to what we were saying. You take the entry the wrong way with the tires pushing up like that, coming off the corners. You know, there's just nothing you can do. the car just wants to keep going up and up and up and up. It gets so tight you can't really do much of anything. And going back to what you were saying about Natan and Nathan, talking about Natan Kiani now. Well, I mean, is that the same thing like him? Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. We get the Chevy Camaro. Is it driven by Natan Kiani? Is that how we're gonna do it now?
Look, you never know. In my world, you never know. It could be a possibility. Up front, 3-car breakaway for the moment with Malin, Goss, and Roger Ray, and then it's about, nearly 10, 12 car lengths before you get back to this battle for fourth between Rick Johnson and Natan Amiedo.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it doesn't look to me like the 93 or the 36 are saving at all.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Rick Johnson back here, he's let a big gap come between him and third place, and he had the pole. He was pretty good in the first practice, and he was at the top of the board. And I kind of expected him to be around the top 2 most of this race, and he's just fallen off pace, or at least something's going on with him.
I'm trying to figure out here. Maybe you'll be able to tell visibly. Watch the 36 going down to this corner. Yeah, is he clutching? I think he's clutching a little bit going into the corner. It's hard to tell. There may be a bump down there on the entry of 1 and 2 and 1 and 3 that's giving that look, but it's looking like he's clutching for just a brief moment going into the corners.
He is indeed.
So Natan trying to stretch it here. I think he was one of the drivers that stayed out when the pits were open that second time around. So I think right at this point, Tom, he's trying to save enough to put him on the sequence with those drivers that topped off.
I'm trying to see if Rick Johnson's clutching to save a little bit, but so far in turn 1 he's not. You gotta remember, the people who are pulling each pack, whether they're at the front leading or if there's a big gap between them, whoever's like leading the second gap, the group or whatever, they actually use twice as much fuel as the person behind them.
Like Dylan Poteet may have clutched there going into 3 for a brief moment also. So we're yep, I think he just clutched there again. So we're
Rick
starting to see.
Johnson is not currently clutching from what I can hear.
And right now, I think probably a big reason for that, to your point, he's leading this group. If he tries clutching, that's going to lose him momentum, and he's going to get kicked back further.
Yeah, and Natan, he might get a run, and he might not realize that Rick wants to clutch, and he might hit him, and then there's a wreck right there, you know? And you don't want to be that guy that hit someone from the back end because you weren't aware what was going on, because it just makes you kind of stand out.
And of course, both those drivers, too, don't want to have any contact with each other and get any damage because they both, right now, currently come into this race outside of the top 4 for the playoff standings. We had a near moment there a couple corners ago between Cole Baker and Shane Sides. Baker got awfully close to that right rear quarter panel, but they're pretty stacked up here.
The funny thing is, that's exactly the group I was looking at. I was going to comment on. That's the second time we've done that.
Yeah, I mean, Shane and Cole have actually been racing side by side quite a bit since we went back green. They've been in the same vicinity and racing each other pretty hard.
Looks like Shane's... I would imagine Shane wants to get by Keanu as quickly as possible. I mean, he's moving up a little bit higher in these corners to get a better run off, but it just doesn't seem like it's affecting anything really much with him. And we're looking back here, McDowell and Blake Warren are still unfortunately out of the big group back here. Belding is now currently 13th, so he's really thinking his stars for that caution.
Absolutely. See Don LaPrade just now moving by. I think that was for 16th on David Alvarez. There's McDowell in the 66. And we got a spinner. We had a spinner there off of the back straightaway. That was the 43 of Blake Warren. Nobody else was in his vicinity, so I doubt that would bring out a caution. I almost wonder if maybe he might have pancaked the wall off of turn 2 again.
It's quite possible. He's been having a lot of issues with that wall lately, this whole run. I mean, not just this run, but the whole race itself.
There you see the lingering smoke there on the back straightaway as single car spin for the 43 does not bring out a yellow. Now, Natan Amiedo and Rick Johnson have managed to kind of gap themselves back here to Dejan Weeks and Dylan Poteet. We know Poteet is saving. I haven't really seen Dejan clutching, but I almost wonder if those two may have backed their pace off just a little bit more, trying to save a little bit more than the 36 and the 93 were.
Blake Warren's on pit road getting fresh tires. I mean, I'm sure that spin pretty much killed his tires.
more than likely. This Chicagoland is very gripped up, so if you end up spinning out, your tires are probably going to be in the yellow.
What do you remember? What lap we went back green on?
I believe we went back green on lap 19, 19 or 20. So I think we're kind of looking maybe at lap 50 for these drivers to start thinking about pitting again.
Well, the one person that's gonna be in a good spot might be actually Blake himself. I mean, if he gets back out on time, I mean, yeah, he's not gonna have a big group gap on him, but he might be in a good position in case the caution comes out.
That's a great point, too, because, yeah, he is off pit sequence, but with him pitting now Cody Lamas got the wall off of 4 pretty good with that 48, and Shane Sides got into him and almost spun on the front straightaway, and they're going to make
There they
more
go
contact.
again. They're banging on each other on turn 1.
Ooh, that was interesting. They keep it together, though, but back to your point about Blake Warren pitting, actually looks like he spent a little extra time on pit road than I expected, but I was going to say...
You get some of the damage fixed, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, it's around lap 30 a year where he'd be able to make it on 2 more stops. If he had a clean pit stop and a quick pit stop, it might have put him off sequence
Don't
and
look
good
now.
shot.
Rick Johnson going for second, and he's caught.
I was going to bring up why maybe Dejan had lost touch with Rick Johnson and Natana Miedo. Well, we know the reason. The 93 and the 36, they apparently were saving their stuff, and now they're making the charge here late in the run.
Yeah, they allowed everyone else to zoom by him and push really hard. Probably used up a lot of that tire while they were trying to be conservative with the tire not going as hard as everyone else was, and now they're able to take that to their full advantage.
Especially in the long run, if you're able to have fresher tires, it allows you to approach the center of the corner and turn down to the inside. And wow, Rick Johnson, gonna get the wall as he tried to go to the outside of Malin. Malin slid up off the corner, and the 93 was able to save it, but he did get a little bit of that turn 2 wall.
And going back a little bit here, Dylan Poteet still trying to reel this group in. There's a gap between the 8th place and the 7th place machine right now of Austin Ogo, but Poteet's trying to get this little group back here caught up to challenge and do something with them, but I think they pretty much have used up most of their stuff as Poteet's closing in on Ogo. Or actually, no, wait, that was Ogo I was looking at. Oh my. I failed on that one, sorry. And Rick Johnson's going for the lead on Tyler Malin now.
Yeah, this time he's going to get the inside line. Malin's not going to be able to put up much of a fight, so the pole sitter will go back to the race lead. Right now, it looks like the drivers that really saved and are doing the best on the long run are Rick Johnson, Natana Miedo, and surprise, surprise, or no surprise for either of us, Austin Ogo in that 41 seems to be gaining some good track position here on the long run.
Looking at Cody, after that little scuffle with Shane, Cody seems to have fallen off just a little bit with his speed and his lap times back here. I'm not sure if he used up all of his stuff when he was side by side with Shane trying to hold the position or not.
Sometimes you just want to get back to the throttle sooner than that right front will allow you, and I'm trying to watch this 43 of Blake
Yeah,
Warren.
I was going to mention Blake has those fresh tires. He's going.
Yeah, I was wanting to see what the difference is between a car with fresh tires and a car that's been out there now on 22 laps, and we can clearly see the difference, especially through the center of the corner. I mean, Blake easily makes it past there, and Kiani! Whoa! I don't think Poteet realized Blake had those fresh tires behind him.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that Poteet didn't realize something.
Too much.
I'm sorry. I had to.
And Blake's just trying to find a place to go. He keeps on trying to swing it to the outside of these drivers, but because they're out there on old tires, they're pushing up off the corner on exit, and it's not really leaving him alone.
Blake's going places now.
He just passed 2 cars on the outside line by himself because of those fresh tires. And I want to look, too, in terms of lap times here. I mean, you can't really get a clear idea.
Blake last stop was a 30.1.
30.1. If we compare that to race leader Rick Johnson, that's about 0.4 of a second difference. And bear in mind, Blake was going around the outside line. So
Blake is now up toward Tyler Malin for second, and Rick Johnson's gone. Rick Johnson's got a gap, but Blake's going to close in on him and get a lap back, at least, I would imagine.
Yes, he will. I think you're right. He'll get a lap back. Robbie
Gilvin is currently on pit road in the 74.
And that would be an unscheduled stop. Looks like McDowell just made a pit stop as he just came off pit lane.
They might have seen how fast Blake was on fresh tires, and they're using that to their advantage now.
So if we're looking here, obviously draft's going to come into play, but the last lap, Rick Johnson ran a 30.697, so technically a 30.7. Blake ran almost a 30 flat, so there's about half
Oh,
a second or more.
Cody's coming into pit road this time as well.
66 is on pit lane again, may have gotten a black flag or may have just missed his pit stall, and there is Cody. But there's about maybe half a second to 6/10 to be gained here on these fresh tires that we clearly just saw there, courtesy of Blake Warren.
Meanwhile, Roger Ray is trying to find a way around Tyler Mallon here.
Looking to the outside.
Are they coming in the pit?
18's coming in, I think.
They're slowing down. Yeah, they're coming in.
Roger Ray is in as well, and Dejan Weeks.
Well, leaders are pitting on lap 49, going on 50 here. So, what do you think? You said, how long was this race supposed to be with overtime?
It's 90 laps officially, so they should still have to make one more pit stop before all is said and done, unless they can drastically save.
I'm wondering if they need to make a full two cans on the last pit stop. They might be able to mess with enough to get a can and a half if they're lucky.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to make a 2-can pit stop on that last one, because they'll be having to come to pit road somewhere around 10 laps shy of the finish. So I would say they probably could get away with even just half a can.
And look at Poteet. Poteet's in second now. I'm not sure if he's going to cycle around to the lead or not.
Well, right now, Rick Johnson's still out in front, and he's actually continuing to clutch while he's out there.
Natan and Poteet are side by side. Or at least Natan's trying to get side by side with Poteet.
And remember, we saw all three of these drivers that are currently first, second, and third. They were all at some point of this green flag run clutching and saving.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Poteet's probably going to be coming in this time, if not next time. Because you don't want to stay out too long on old tires, especially when everyone else is coming on fresh tires, because that's just going to hinder you even more, and you're going to be behind the ball when you come in the pit.
I just listened in to in-car audio from Dylan Poteet in the 17. Apparently, these guys are trying to stretch it to lap 57. I guess that's about the furthest they can maybe go.
You think they're trying to undercut it, or what they're trying to do at the very end, actually have a little bit more fuel to use?
Well, if they can make it to lap 57, with it being a 90-lap event, they would be able to make it on this last pit stop. Because the max they can go is 33 laps, so they'd be right on the money of being able to make it on this one pit stop.
In all honesty, in my opinion, I do not like that idea. You're pushing yourself too far on old tires, and when you're losing so much ground to everyone else that is out there catching and running you back down, even though you might have lapped the field, they're running you back down. There's going to be a big gap, and when they come into pit, it's going to be a full 4-tire stop along with that gas and and everything else. It's just going to take a little bit too long, plus pit road speed and getting back out. I don't think this is going to help them too much, in my opinion, but that's just how I would do it.
Let me pose a question to you. The time that they are losing right now to the fresh tires out there of Tyler Mallon, Roger Ray, and others, would they be able to gain that back when they eventually come to pit road and everybody else out there might try clutching to make it the 10 laps that they'd be short?
Well, that does raise an interesting point. I just don't see this actually working to their advantage. Now, I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I really... Oh, Poteet's in the wall! Poteet is in the wall. He's coming down pit road.
He's going to come to pit lane, as apparently he was not able to get that thing slowed down. That's going to have him spend a little extra time on pit road getting that right side repaired. Rick Johnson was also on pit road the lap before.
Now we have to look at Natan on that, unless Natan's already come into pit, because now I'm concerned about him.
He is still out, and right now, as things stand, when he comes to pit road, it looks like the 78 may be the next one to inherit the lead. And I just got word Poteet blew a tire in turn 4. That's why.
And that's what I was saying. You stay out there too long, consequences.
Yep. So that's going to cost Poteet some spots for sure. Not only losing
and you're
ground,
talking about lap 57. They're on 56 now, and I think Natan just came into pit road, didn't he?
Yeah, he just put lap 57 on the board. He did not complete lap 57, so He'd have to save a little bit more, I think, here, about half a lap to be able to make it the rest of the way. The question now is going to be, what about these drivers that were all on pit road about 7 to 10 laps ago? Are they going to spend this run trying to save fuel, or do they definitely have to make one more pit stop for the checkers?
I feel they definitely have to make one more pit stop.
Roger Ray right now is not at all looking like he is saving, as he will undoubtedly this next time around be the race leader at the line. He's got a pretty big gap there too over Will Goss. I'm not sure what happened to Tyler Mallon during that round of pit stops, but it looks like he's going to cycle around all the way back somewhere in the vicinity of 11th place, something like that.
Dylan Poteet, I'm looking at the side of his car. He's got some right side damage towards the back end. And now with the pit stops having cycled through, Poteet will now officially be 14th overall.
So that's going to lose him a lot of track position. We'll have to see if he can gain it back here. I mean, he'd be anywhere from maybe 2 to 2.5 laps short. Rick Johnson, I think, be about 3 laps short. Natan Amiedo is the one that I'm kind of wondering about, because he'd be about a half lap short. But to your point, how much time did he just lose with all of that saving and staying out as long as he did?
I mean, Natan's got to be really thankful he didn't hit that wall like Poteet did with the blown tire and on. Poteet's lost a lot of ground right now, and I'm really wondering, is it really worth staying out and actually getting that little extra advantage or not? Because everyone's going to be coming to pit, and yeah, you want to be the one that plays the fuel strategy to stay out longer, as we watch Cole Baker go underneath the 95 of Nathan Piani here going to turn 1. I wouldn't chance it. I'd come in, even if it's just for right sides or 4 tires or whatever. I'd come back in. I wouldn't chance it, because we have seen what fresh tires can do.
Absolutely. Now, Poteet did have that 20-point gap over 4th in the standings as well. Does that maybe kind of play into the mentality of him being one of those to try and stretch it, knowing he's got that little bit of a cushion?
Well, I mean, he's going to be somewhat a little bit safe, but he's going to give up a lot in this race.
Right now, I think we kind of have to watch the race within the race, because, as you said, you don't really think those guys like Roger Ray and Will Goss that they're going to be able to make it without having to come to pit road. So Rick Johnson right now cycles around to the 7th position. Natan Amiedo is going to cycle to 13th. So if Rick Johnson can make it, it would seem to me the 93 right now is sitting in the catbird seat.
Granted that we don't have another caution.
Exactly. Yep, that's the thing. Yeah, we could get a late race yellow here in these final 30 laps. We just had an exchange for 2nd place. Talked about 2 drivers that really needed good runs here tonight. Cody Lamas just worked his way around Will Goss, dropping Will back to 3rd.
Someone's on pit road, by the way. Do not know this. And Ogo is going to be passing Dejan for 4th here in turn 1.
That's the 43 of Blake Warren that is back on pit road.
Side by side for 4th between Ogo and Dejan.
A couple of Stuart Haas racing cars there side by side as Ogo will take the spot. And you saw right there, Dejan trying to save, but he came in the same lap as Tyler Mallon. So these guys that all came in on that same lap, they're going to have to.
It looks like Dejan's going to lose another spot.
I think he's willing to lose that, as he's been clutching here, trying to save. I just don't see how you can save 8 to 10 laps here on this run.
I don't either. That's why I stick with CTS physics, because I know that a lot better than I do cut physics.
I hear ya. The Dejan falls back to 6th. There's Rick Johnson in 7th. He's the one that maybe can make it on fuel. Big question mark there. Should we not get a late race yellow?
Goss up here in 3rd, running close to Cody Lamas, and Roger Ray's kind of checked out right now. He's pretty much gone. And going back to what you said, Mallon's way back in 17th. I don't know if he had a penalty or something that happened that might have got him back there.
Yeah, I think 17th he's a lap down.
He's on lap 64.
Yeah, so he's a lap down. So I can only assume maybe got a black flag for speeding or something there during that cycle of pit stops.
And with the rules of this league, you have to come back in and serve it under green.
I mean, the good news is he's got that win in the bank at Dover. He's already locked into the Final Four. He can afford a slip up. Wow, easy for me to say. A
Yeah.
slip up
Good job, huh?
at Chicagoland. I slip up too, apparently.
Yes, you do.
The
I mean,
interval.
that's why you're making the mistakes and I'm not.
Exactly. Don't get old, people. Public service announcement. Will Goss, whoa, slides literally in front of Cody Lamas to put himself back in the second position. An aggressive move there. However, I'd be a little worried about making a move like that, especially with how abrasive Chicagoland has been on the tires here tonight.
And I'm watching Rick Johnson here. He's closing in on another car in front of him, and he's bringing Shane Sides and a whole gaggle of cars behind him with him.
And he's still clutching into the corners there, so
He's running up on Ogo now, and that'll be for 4.
it would. Right now, with Rick Johnson being able to be in the draft of that 41 and clutching through the corners, I mean, it looks like he's clutching almost halfway through the corners, all the way through turn 1. Ogo is trying to save there as well. But one thing I think Rick Johnson does not want to see right now would be a caution, because it's looking like if this thing goes green to the end, he looks like he might be the one guy, based on track position and based on when he pit, who could maybe make it to the conclusion of this race.
I'm looking back up near the front. Cody every so often, and it looks like Goss is clutching a little bit as well. Because I saw, you see how the car is flopping up and down going in the corners. Goss, I believe, is clutching. Cody's trying to run Goss back down. I think Cody might be as well. They're actually closing in on Roger Ray.
I was going to say, if they're clutching, then Roger is really clutching, because they have reeled him in. It's now only maybe about 7 car lengths from the 78 back to the 2 car. And of course, Roger Ray gaining this track position.
I mean, if you watch Goss right around a couple up, see how the car bops up and down a little bit? He's clutching just a little bit.
Shutting the engine off, letting it coast through the corner and trying to save some fuel.
Emmanuel Hartnett will be the next car they come up on. I think Emmanuel's coming to pit road. He's trying to slow down. Yeah, the 83 is coming down to pit road.
He's been in the wall at some point as well. Some pretty significant right side damage. Cole Baker in the 42 on pit road. Also the 95 of Nathan Chiani.
Felipe Teixeira, Shane Sides is on pit road.
This would be the final stop of the day for these drivers. Now it's a question of who can make it, because if all those guys are coming to pit road now, they were on pit road around the same time as Tyler Mallon and others. Roger Ray were on pit road, so my assumption is that all these other guys won't be able to make it, and here comes the 78 to pit road.
And we're about, what is it now? About 20 laps from the checkers.
Yeah, 20 exactly. Oh, we got a spinner. Dejan Weeks trying to get to pit road there. Spins it out of turn 4. It looks like he will make the commitment line, however, and the commitment cone. No
We'll
caution.
be back to the commentator can't speak 300 in just a minute.
That's every broadcast.
Is it really?
Yes. The name's getting overused.
Now, here's my question. With these guys that are on the lead lap pitting and coming out with fresh tires, is this going to hurt Rick Johnson, do you think, in the end?
I almost think it will, because we already figured out when we compared Blake Warren to those other drivers after a 20-lap run and he was on fresh tires, there's about a half second to 6/10 to be gained every single lap. Rick Johnson right now is running down in the 30.6s as he's trying to clutch and save. If I'm looking at someone like maybe Shane Sides, Cole Baker, some of those guys that just came to pit road, I think they could, with 20 laps left, they could gain the time.
I want to bring up a little quick tidbit story. I don't remember if it was an Extreme or if it was in, I believe it was Extreme when that used to be owned by a former league owner of Frank Divins. Fun fact, I remember racing Bermuda one time, and there was a driver there by the name of Charles, and he showed up and he won Bermuda on like pit strategy, you know. But the thing is, we all had to save fuel, and he wasn't saving. And I tried to figure out what he was doing later, because he was off like pace with everyone else. You know, like how they're pitting early, and someone else is staying out longer. And Charles was one that would always, you know, use fuel strategy to his advantage. So I asked him after the race what was he doing. He said because he knew he could make it the rest of the way, he got up on the back bumper of other drivers that could not make it the rest of the way, or they were right there on the edge, and basically forced them to go faster and harder to use up more fuel. So maybe some of these drivers could do that to Rick Johnson and cause him to pretty much go all out to use up all that fuel.
I think right now the pressure would be coming from new fourth place driver Roger Ray. He just went around Dylan Poteet. That would actually, I think, now officially be for the third position as Austin Ogo was just on pit lane. So Roger Ray with those fresh tires, he is making a charge up there, and he's not that far away from Rick Johnson. Maybe about half the racetrack, which I think he could make up in these final 13 laps.
So I just heard you say way, so I'm gonna guess we're going, since his name is Roger and it's an R, I'm guessing it's right way Ray. Is that what we're gonna do?
We'll go with that.
That way it saves you the embarrassment.
Right now, it's Richard Johnson who is showing the way. He's trying to make it on fuel. Second place is where you find Natan Amiedo. Remember, he was one of the last drivers to come to pit
He
road.
was the last driver to make it.
Yeah.
I believe.
He made it
Rick
to
Johnson
lap,
close to the wall up there in turn 3.
What was it, lap 57 that I think Natan came
yeah,
to pit
because
road.
he had just started lap 57 when he came in, remember?
Right,
I mean,
so
Natan did.
he doesn't have nearly as much to save. However, if he looks back behind him, Emmanuel Hartnett moving out of the way of third place Roger Ray, and here comes Will Goss in the 2 car as well. These two are on fresh tires.
And that's what I was suggesting. If they wanted to get behind, if they catch Rick Johnson, they can sit there and go around him and pace him and push him on the backstretch and the straightaways. That would cause him to be a little more agitated to use up a little bit more, fuel that he doesn't really want to use. And you get what I mean? It'll just make him run out sooner, and he won't be able to make it the rest of the way. So I'm wondering if they're going to do that, or if they're just going to pass and pull away.
Another thing we have to remember too, not only is Rick Johnson trying to save his fuel, he's also got to save his tires.
Blake Warren around. On the grass down here.
No caution as he spins it into the infield grass. Nothing from race control, so we remain green. But remember, Dylan Poteet blew a right front trying to come onto pit road, stretching as far as he could. I mean, Rick Johnson's got to be careful of that right front as well as his fuel tank.
Cole Baker is going around Dylan Poteet now. A lot of these guys are staying out. They're losing so much time to these people who have got fresh tires. I'm almost wondering what the mindset is right now, because you got 10 laps to go, a little bit less than 10 now, for the actual legit normal distance of this race. And you gotta wonder, is it worth doing? I mean, I know Rick Johnson's in a position where he feels like he has to in order to make it to the next round. But what about these other guys? How hard are they pushing it right now, do you think?
I think they're definitely pushing it hard if you're referring to Roger Ray and Will Goss, because they realize the situation Rick Johnson's in. I mean, we're focused on this battle for second place right now because, in all honesty, with the amount of time they're gaining on that 93, I think this is maybe within the next 3 laps going to turn into your race for the lead, maybe even for the win.
Rick Johnson's got to really make it toward the next few laps if he wants to be able to pull away this win with fuel strategy. And like I said, if he does, well, good job, kudos to him, because I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have actually pit with the rest of this group if it were me.
Well, I mean, the problem for Rick Johnson right now, there's a spin ahead of him. That's Blake Warren up into the wall again in turn 3. He's going to teleport it to pit road, so no caution yet again, as it was a single car incident. But
Blake Warren's been having such a bad race. This racetrack is not liking him, period.
No, it is not. It's about the 3rd or 4th spin we've seen him
And we've
have.
seen him in the wall, too, so it must be something that it's not really, set up correctly with, his liking for the track.
But going back to Rick Johnson, I mean, maybe he's able to make it on fuel now at this point, but he's been out there probably about...
they've caught Rick Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. See, he's got about maybe 26 laps on his tires. He doesn't have enough tire underneath him, enough grip to be able to hold these guys off, even if he is able to make it on fuel.
And that's what I'm concerned about. That's what I was suggesting. If he comes into pit, he'd be okay, but now he's been out so far. They've already pit. They're already good. Rick Johnson trying to pretty much save what he's got to make it to the end. But I think, if he came into pit now, it wouldn't matter. He's already laid his bet. He's already made up his plan, his strategy, what he wants to do. There's no going back. He's got to follow it through now.
I was just checking. I thought that was a pass for position. It wasn't. Actually, that was Roger Ray and Will Goss unlapping themselves. So Rick's actually still the leader. I thought that was actually a pass for the lead at the time.
When someone comes down the pit road, they have to go really slow. That causes the other person to go around them and lap. And you are aware of that.
I am aware.
You really
of that.
are getting old.
Well, I also don't have the F2 up here on the broadcast, so we have our moving ticker. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to know live of who's
Cody
where.
Lamas has got around Rick Johnson as well. The next car that I'm looking at that they would be approaching would be the car of Tyler Mallon. Mallon's all by himself back here and still in 17th, unfortunately.
Yeah, I want to bring up what actually happened to Tyler Mallon. We actually just got word a moment ago. Coming off pit road on that first cycle of pit stops, Mallon actually spun on pit road exit and his car drifted up onto the racing surface, which is a merging violation. And so that's why Mallon had to come back down pit road and serve the penalty and finds himself subsequently in the 17th position.
And looking at Poteet here to share, going by Poteet. And that's not for position, but Poteet's on old tires. He's losing a lot of ground, too.
Yeah, right now, the three that are trying to stretch it are Rick Johnson, Natan Amiedo, and Dylan Poteet. It looks like either he didn't fix the right side damage he got from blowing the tire earlier, or else he's gotten into the wall yet again, because that's...
He almost got in the wall a moment ago when Teixeira went by him. But Poteet... It's just, I wouldn't chance it because we saw what happened with Poteet last time. He dove in the corner too hard and that tire finally let go.
Yeah, I actually heard about 5 laps ago he was saying that his tires were heading into the yellow, which is not a good thing.
Gossen battling for Roger Ray up here. Oh, Roger, he just wrecked him. Barely got in the back of him. Roger's around. I think that might be a caution.
That is a caution, and the white was not taken. Rick Johnson was in turn 4, about to receive the white flag. We are going into an overtime green-white checker.
Oh my! I was watching this battle. I was thinking Goss and Roger were battling, which could possibly have been for something going on for the win if Rick had to come into pit, and just barely a small bit of contact to that right front of Goss into Roger, and that just sent Roger around. I feel so bad for that.
And you can see that Roger Ray looks like the left front tire is down. And 22 of Shane's side is going to be the free pass car. I think there's going to be about maybe 7 or 8 cars on the lead lap when we go back green. I think it's clear to say the 93, the 36, the 17, they're going to have to come to pit road, but I think all those other drivers on the lead lap, they're probably going to want to pit as well.
And another one that has to pit, unfortunately, is going to be Roger Ray. He's got damage all on that side of that car.
Let's go back and see what happened to those two, Will Goss and Roger Ray. I saw them side by side quite a number of times there when they were both behind and after they had passed Rick Johnson. And Will Goss was determined to make that inside line work. I wonder if maybe he might have pushed up off the corner.
I think Roger was trying to make sure he stayed off the wall because, like we were saying, that you push up, you don't want to be on that outside when you got worn tires and all. And he was trying to stay off the wall and make sure he could take that corner properly coming off the turn. And Goss slipped just enough to where Roger wasn't officially clear exactly, and it barely made contact. And I'm sure that was an accident because we know Goss is aggressive, but Goss is not a person who would do that.
Yeah, and I almost think it was kind of a risky move on Roger Ray's part, just based on the fact that I had noticed that Will, when he tried making the move to the inside several times, he would get tight coming off the corner. And we can clearly see from the replay that Roger Ray was down there kind of pinching the 2 car, not giving him a whole lot of room. So you knew that if the 2 pushed up, there's no questions asked that the 78 was going to go around with contact with the left rear.
I really hate that. I'm sure Goss is kind of upset at himself for that. I'm sure Roger's heartbroken over this because he was actually in a really good position.
Will Goss came into this race not necessarily in a must-win situation, but very far back in the playoff standings. Roger Ray, on the other hand, was only 2 points back from advancing into the Final Four heading into Motegi next week.
Now, I want to bring this point up. So the top 3 come into pit, right? they come in fresh tires. There's a whole group of drivers who are technically behind them still. You know what I mean? From lapping them and everything else. So another question I have is this actually really good and for not only Rick Johnson, but is it good for Poteet? Because we've seen Poteet struggle all race, and this might actually be good for Poteet. I'm not sure what your opinion is of this.
I think it's a good thing for Poteet for two reasons. Number one, he doesn't lose out on a lot of track position if he ends up running out of fuel on that last lap. And secondly, he was really good in the early portions of this race on the short run. Started the race from 14th, and we saw him up around 7th place 4 laps in. So if he's able to get himself a good restart and channel that short run speed he had early on, he could have something here for the 93 and the
Are we
36.
about to go green?
I believe we are. And I just got word as well. The 42 of Cole Baker, the 41 of Austin Ogo, pitted after taking the wave around, so they are both going to be EOL.
Now, I don't know. Did Rick Johnson, Atan, and Dylan come into pit?
I believe everybody came into pit. I don't think anyone stayed out. Everyone wanted to be on equal tire grip going here into this green-white checkered.
And this right here is just going to set Rick Johnson and Atan up for a good run here now that's been established. Because Roger Ray's down there in 5th, and he's got damage, so Cody, Atan, Poteet, and Rick, they're all going to be loving this.
Absolutely. We'll see how up to speed that 78 of Roger Ray is, as Rick Johnson's going to lead them down. Now they have to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And they are not going green. They've called it off, so we'll wait just one more time. So the way they're going to be lined up when we go back green, Rick Johnson the leader, Natan Amiedo in second, Dylan Poteet third, Cody Lamas fourth, Roger Ray fifth, Shane Sides in sixth. Those 6 can win their way into the championship 4 here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway. Then you got Dejan Weeks, and I believe that's Nathan Kiani making up row 4. You got to go back to row 5 before you find Dunn LaPratt and Charles Belding. And right now, for the rest of your playoff contenders, you've got Tyler Mallon, who's currently in 15th. I think he is back on the lead lap. I think he took the wave around. And Will Goss, who took the EOL for claiming the caution, is going to be restarting at the rear of the field.
I want to point out Belding up here. I'm looking all around his car. He does not appear to have any damage, so he's kept it nice and clean this whole race.
Belding is a rookie here in the Cup Series, and of course missed the start too. Found himself a lap down early, got himself a caution, got the free pass, and has a chance maybe for a top 10 run here this evening at Chicagoland Speedway. Is getting ready to go this time. It'll be a green-white checkered. If a caution comes out before the white flag, there's 2 more overtime green-white checkers at the disposal. Hopefully not have to use them. And they called it off again.
Oh, sure, in the back of Tyler Mallon.
Yeah, they had to call it off again. Apparently, the leader has to type green when they go, when he accelerates. And apparently, the chat was not kept clear for the race leader to be able to type the green to notify everyone else that he was going. So that's why we have ourselves another pacing lap.
You know, if I were them, I probably wouldn't have needed to come into pit if we're just gonna do this the whole time. That'd be great, right? It's like, okay,
Probably,
you guys go to pit. I'll just sit here and clutch to the win.
Yeah, probably with as few cars as we have in the field, I don't think that anybody would be able, with the restart being called off, they'd be able to dive onto pit road quickly enough.
I was talking about Rick Johnson or Natan or Poteet instead of coming into pit. You know, if we're going to keep going around and around and around and using all the fuel.
I don't think they'd want to still be at that tire deficit.
I know, but it'd be interesting to see what happens, and I hope that we're actually going to go green this time.
Hopefully. These drivers will be racing, if we do go green this time, they'll be racing to the conclusion of lap 96. If we get to lap 96, race will be official, as Rick Johnson going to indicate when he's going green here. Natan Amiedo going to try to get himself a restart of a lifetime as green flag is out. Both cars pretty even heading to turn 1.
Shane Sides back there and looking to see where he wants to go, and Natan directly go right to the bottom, right behind Rick Johnson. Poteet's there, and there's someone up in the wall back there. There's a wreck back there.
That's going to be a caution. Belding up into the air. That was Nathan Kiani, who I think had taken the wave around, and apparently those tires going into the corner, the grip was not there.
Rick Johnson will lead him back, followed by Natan, Poteet, and Cody, top 4.
Will Goss, Tyler Mallon, Emmanuel Hartnett all got pieces of that wreck. 28 has claimed the incident, Charles Belding. And because this was under overtime rules, he is going to not only get a strike EOL, but he's also going to lose a lap here.
Well, you did say that he was a lights driver too, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, you don't really see many of these people make mistakes, so I'm pretty sure that people can forgive Belding. Belding doing pretty decent in the lights, from what I understand.
We'll take a look and see what happened here. Kiani took a very high entry going into turn 1. I know that. But we'll see what happened here with the 28 of Belding. Looks like he might have pushed up there in the corner. Yeah, he did. He had a little bit of a warp going on. Slid up into Kiani, and there you see, boy, there's Hartnett. There's Cole Baker getting a piece as well. Will Goss going through the grass, and Felipe Teixeira may have gotten through that unscathed. I think he drove underneath a couple of those cars. May have gotten a little bit of damage, but not much.
We got drivers back here coming in the pit road.
Why not? Who knows? Maybe those that extra lap and a half of tire rubber underneath you might be the difference.
Especially we have another wreck, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we still have one more green-white checkered at our disposal should we not receive the white flag on this restart. We're going to actually take an onboard real quick here with the 44 of Felipe Teixeira, see what he saw coming out of turn 2. See Belding, looks like he was having some connection issues. They were almost 4 wide. Teixeira actually gets spun, then turns it back the correct way and drives underneath. I think that was Hartnett and Kiani to continue on. I don't think he got any damage.
Coming to lap 90, I think this is the last chance we have at a green-white checker here.
Yes, it would. So next flag is going to end the race, technically. If a caution comes out before we get the white flag, race will end under yellow.
Well, actually, I think we might have 2 chances. I don't know. What do you think? 97 from 98. We got 107. About 10 laps. It should be good enough for 2 if we need it. Or is there a rule saying there's only 3?
There is only 3 overtime cautions at their disposal. And I think we just used 1. So they would have 2 more, including this one if necessary. They are going 1 to green at the line. So hopefully they will be able to actually not have to put an extra pace lap on there, and we will be able to go back green as Rick Johnson, Natan Amiedo, Dylan Poteet, Cody Lamas is now your top 4. Roger Ray.
Actually, we're still the same top 4.
Is it the same top 4?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that Cody was back in 5th for some reason on the last restart.
I think it's the same top 6 that we had on the last restart too, because Roger Ray's still up there with a little bit of damage.
Yep, you might be right. I think you are right. So Ray there in 5th and Shane Sides in 6th. I believe the free pass car, if I heard correctly, was the 31 perhaps? I think that's what they said.
Dylan LaPrade?
I think it might have been.
They're all restoring themselves out up here. Someone's dropping back. I think it's Austin Ogo, isn't it?
Yes, it is the 41. I'm not sure why he's dropping.
Now, before we go green here, I want to bring up a point here. You have Natan, who saw what Rick Johnson did and where he went last time exactly at that moment. Do you think Natan's going to learn from that and actually be able to hold it with Rick Johnson, or do you think Rick Johnson already has this in the bag? What do you think?
Well, I think the restart zone that they have is actually really small. So what Natan's got to make sure he does is at least hold with Rick Johnson, but make sure he doesn't beat him to the start-finish line. So it's a pretty tough task because he doesn't have a whole lot of room to work with here before the start-finish line. As the green flag is back in the air, and Natan was not on it. Rick Johnson's going to easily clear and lead them side by side for second.
Battling on for position side by side back here, almost 3 wide at the back, and now they're settling themselves out back side by side. It seems like they really are pushing it now.
Oh,
There they
Natan up
go.
into the wall. Is he going
And
to
he
save
saved it.
it?
He saved it.
And they wrecked. They wrecked. Caution may come out. I think that was, yes, caution is out. Kiani got into the back of Natan,
Oh,
and Cody
Lamas is
spinning.
around.
Look out.
And
Oh,
Felipe into him.
wow. And we're not done yet.
And Cody keeps going.
Cody went down on the apron. Car came out from underneath him. He gets hit by Felipe Teixeira. I'm pretty sure it was
I think
Kiani
what
that got
happened is
Natan
Cody.
further back.
I think what happened was Cody was checking up, so he didn't run over everyone while they were slowed down, and then he just lost control. It just got away from him, and he spun all the way down, and then came right back up in front of Teixeira, and Teixeira had nowhere to go.
Pits are open this time. We'll see if anybody decides to take it.
Cody will.
Yeah, no doubt. Natan, I don't know really what happened to him. He went so high into turn 3 there. I don't know how he thought that was going to work.
Teixeira, Alvarez, Natan, they're all coming into the road back here. This those group.
Look here and see what happened to...
Cole Baker's going to the back a little bit here.
Here's what happened to Natan. He saves it, and that was actually David Alvarez that got into the back of him. That's what brought out the caution, and then we'll go back and see what happened here. The instant we saw it happen pretty much live with Cody Lamas, but we'll look at it again. Cody was running at the time, I think, up in the...
He was running third, I believe, because
Yeah.
Natan had gone to the back a little bit after that.
There it was. Coming back to the caution. Cody's going to go into the middle. Oh, wow. Yeah, he started slowing up, and I think his left sides were down on that paint line, and that paint line does not have a lot of grip. It will slide your car, and that might have been why he spun around.
Paint grip, huh?
Yep. Apparently there has been no claim for the first incident over there in turns 3 and 4 between the 36 and the 59.
And it looks like Shane Sides is going to go review the issue because he's coming to pit road.
So we have only one more green-white checkered at our disposal here. And right now, if you're Rick Johnson, I mean, is it a good thing, do you think, the fact that he's having so many opportunities to restart and choose when he wants to accelerate? Or do you think it's a bad thing? Would he rather have just had that first green-white checkered over with?
Well, honestly, I think he would have hoped that it went to completely green to begin with. We never had a caution. But well, what I'm looking at right now is I think Rick's really happy about one thing specifically. You know, I don't mean to be like negative about saying how I'm going to say this, so please don't take that into consideration when I say it. Roger Ray is running third. Dylan Poteet's running second. They have a little bit of damage. They've had to be worked on a little bit. I don't think they'll be as good fast-wise as Rick is, and plus Rick has the control of the start. So I honestly think that having Poteet and Roger Ray a little bit damaged, a little bit maybe a quarter to a half a mile hour off pace or so, I think that's really going to help Rick even more.
I think that's a great point because, you know, it may not seem like much, but even that right side damage that Poteet has, you'll feel that going into the corner. It will tighten the car up a lot more than if the car were with no damage whatsoever. But how about the comeback stories here of Roger Ray and Will Goss, the two that got together, brought out that caution that put us into these overtimes. They're back up there, third and fourth. I mean, obviously, may not win this race, but at least going to get some top fives if they finish where they are.
Well, what about this guy up here in sixth, up here, Dejan? He's just sitting here looking at his shops, hoping that they have an issue or something. He might be able to get second out of this.
How about Emmanuel Hartnett in the 83? He's up here in the 5th position. He was a lap down earlier trying to make a green flag pit
Shane
stop.
Sides has ruled, and he's coming back out on the track. He's trying to catch up to the field now.
So what I am being told is apparently the 36, as we saw it on the footage, he never spun. So apparently that should not have brought a caution flag out.
Yeah, I stated that when he went up in the wall, he just hit the wall and got sideways and stayed up against the wall. I never saw him make contact with anyone to cause a wreck.
I knew that he had been hit by the 59, but when we were looking at the leaders, it kind of went off screen, so I assumed he had been spun around. But as we saw from the replay footage, he did not go around. The wall kind of saved him and kept him going. Now, obviously, the Cody Lamas incident would have probably not brought out a caution either. So this race probably should have been over, but we do have one more last green white checkered here for Rick Johnson. He almost, as you said, made it on fuel if we had gone the official distance. Now we'll see if he can time this final restart, pick up a checkered flag, and lock himself in, along with Tyler Mallon, into that championship battle at Homestead.
Oh, where are we going next week? What race
Next
is it?
week, Twin Ring Motegi.
The old Darlington type style, or is it the actual road course?
I believe it's the oval.
Oh, poop.
And then after that, we're going to be at Michigan for the final race before the championships decided at Homestead. But last green-white checkered here tonight at Chicagoland is green. They stacked up on the restart, and Rick Johnson's going to drive away because of that.
And I'm hopefully in my correct mind, I think Goss is going to take full advantage of everything here.
Goss actually's dropped back. He was the one that checked up behind Poteet. That's Shane Sides in the 22, trying to make a move on Roger Ray. He moves up in front of Poteet. Next flag ends the race. Hopefully it's the white. Look at Shane up the middle.
Oh boy.
They will make it to the white flag as Rick Johnson hits the line. We're racing to the checkers. Shane Sides hunting the 93 of Rick Johnson as they're almost 4 wide behind him.
Yeah, the damaged cars of Roger Ray and Poteet, that really helped Rick get away, but as we saw, Shane was ready for it. Shane was ready to go.
Almost 4 wide going into 3 as Rick Johnson by about a car length over Shane
Oh, there's
Sides.
a wreck back here.
Will Goss into the wall. Never mind. We're back to the checkered flag, and Richard Johnson's going to get his way into the Homestead Miami Championship battle with the win here tonight in the Menards 135.
And they were wrecking back here. Cole Baker. I saw someone go up in the wall. I saw Cole Baker automatically go sideways. They were wrecking a little bit of the floor back there before they got to the start-finish line.
Yeah, the car I saw in the wall first was the white and green Money Lion Ford of Will Goss. To your point, looked like Baker was limping across the start-finish line as well. Then they wrecked coming to the start-finish line as well in the front straightaway. I think that might have been the 95 of Kiani that may have gone up the track into others, but I think it was after the start-finish line. So 2 Toyotas have raced their way into the championship battle at Homestead, Miami. Tyler Mallon last week at Dover, and Rick Johnson here tonight at Chicagoland.
Well, we now know that Rick Johnson and Mallon don't have to really worry about anything. Now we got to worry about who's going to be the next person to actually have to race their way in, because you got people who need to get up in points to actually race their way in, then you got people who think they might be a little bit good point-wise. You mentioned it before, Poteet has a little bit of a cushion. That cushion almost disappeared with how Poteet was running earlier on in this race, and he had the mishap with the tire go down, hit the wall, was way in the back, and all these cautions, technically, even though he wasn't up near the front in the first or second position of the finishing order, he still comes away with a 5th place finish.
Yeah,
so
really?
That's got as much points as he was giving up in this race. He didn't damage himself too badly at the end of this race with that 5th place finish.
Yeah, we had Rick Johnson, Dylan Poteet, and Natan Amiedo, who were all kind of on the same strategy of trying to stretch it to the end. It worked out for Rick Johnson with the win. You mentioned Poteet there in 5th. It did not work out, however, for Natan Amiedo, who got involved in that caution that brought out our second green-white checkered. 2 drivers I'm looking at here in the finishing results, though. Cody Lamas, who of course had that spin coming to the second overtime caution, and Will Goss, who got caught up in that last lap wreck, finishing 12th and 14th. Those 2 guys came into this race 26 points behind the cut line. I almost feel with 2 races remaining, they're going to be going into both Motegi and Michigan almost in a must-win situation.
Yeah, and when you're in a must-win situation, you tend to push it a little bit harder. But yeah, at the same time, you wonder, should I be more conservative because you know they're going to wreck, or you know they're going to do this, or going to do that, and then you make a mistake and you play it too conservative, and then you're completely out of the equation completely, and then you've got the people who are being too aggressive. I mean, what do? Do you become aggressive to actually try to force it, or do you play conservative? Because either way, it's got a negative consequence if it backfires.
Absolutely. And at the two types of tracks we're going to as well, you're definitely going to have to balance that out. Motegi is a tire killer. Michigan is a fuel killer. So you really have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of what you want to do because they could have championship implications. Speaking of that, with Rich Johnson moving into the final four now with Tyler Mallon, Dylan Pote with a fifth place run will still have that cushion, and Shane Sides finishing in second. He was third in points coming into this race, so he'll have a little bit of a cushion. Right now, the only other guy I can see that could maybe challenge them points wise to try and get into the final four would be Roger Ray, who, despite getting involved in that wreck and what was a battle at the time for fourth place with Will Goss, still brings it home with a third place run, damaged and all. So salvaged something there out of what could have been a very poor points day for the 78.
And look at, I mean, we haven't really talked about him too much, but Dejan coming
Yeah.
home with the top five. I mean, he was back there running around 6th, 7th, just relaxing, riding, and racing his own race, and a little bit of mishaps happened in front of him. He took advantage and was able to get a top five as well. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Just to
no, Shane.
relax with the way the tire wear was in this race and how aggressive they all were, and then they go single file for a while, fuel mileage. Dejan was able to pull out a top five for it.
Yeah, Shane Sides, Roger Ray, and Dejan Weeks all came into this race 7 point separation and all finish up in the same vicinity. So, yeah, I think you're right. We can add Dejan Weeks into that points battle as well to maybe try and get one of those final four spots should we have a repeat winner in the next 2 weeks. But we are now
Okay,
going to.
I have to ask one small thing
Okay.
because we personally know Roger. He types. Are we gonna have Matt Rod come in and read it out to us?
Quite possibly. Yeah, I think we're probably
All right.
going to have to here. But we're gonna, yeah, let's kick things off here with Roger Ray real
All right.
quickly.
Well, let me bring in Matt.
Okay.
Matt, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so Roger obviously is not able to talk. We're going to have you be his voice. He's going to type
God.
what he wants you to say.
Are you sure about this?
We are sure about this.
Hey, Abby, we would have chosen DJ Curtis, but we can't have everything we want, can we?
All right, so we do have Roger. Roger, we're going to have Matt be your voice here. You can type your responses, and Matt will say what it is that you're going to be giving us for answers and everything. I feel like this is IBM Watson. All right, so first off, Roger, I want to just go and ask you, do you think if the 93, the 17, the 36, if they had been good on fuel, would there have been any way, do you think, that you would have been able to reel them in had they run out of fuel on that final lap if we hadn't had that late caution?
One moment. Honestly, I'm not sure because I wasn't really paying attention to them.
You had that battle there with Will for that fourth position. Obviously, it went wrong. Oh,
I was trying to hold off Goss, and then that got a little too close.
yeah, I was going to just bring that up because we saw that Will was getting tight underneath you a couple of times battling, and it looked like you kind of came down a little bit, didn't give him a whole lot of room. So, were you expecting that there might be a risk of contact?
I was expecting that to be for the lead.
Oh, okay. So, you didn't realize at the time that you and the two car were both currently just on the tail end of the lead lap.
I knew we weren't, but I still had to fight him because it's the playoffs.
Fair point. We saw that your car was really badly damaged after that wreck, but you were able to hold on for a third place finish. Was there any deficit in speed after the damage you sustained, or do you think you still had a car that could have gotten up there, maybe mixed it up with those top two if they had gotten together?
I think even without the damage, I probably would have ended up third.
All right. Jess, you got any questions for Roger?
Well, considering you pretty much asked them the questions I wanted to ask. What I'm curious about, Roger, is next week is Motegi. And have you raced there before? Do you know what you're going to expect from that? Do you feel confident going into that race that you're actually going to do really good?
Nope.
What did you say it was? That's a tire wear track?
Yeah, Motegi is a tire killer.
No.
Well, Roger, I don't know what you're gonna do because this right here was a tire wear too. So
I mean, I think I did my best at saving tires all season in that race, so.
well, we saw when you got to the lead, you were way out front. We didn't think you were saving anything at that point.
I definitely was.
Well, I mean, regardless of the wreck you were involved in and everything, you bring it home with a third place run. So this keeps you up there in the hunt as well to possibly point your way in to the playoffs if you don't end up picking up a win at either Motegi or the following week at Michigan. But obviously, a great run for you here tonight. Congratulations on a tremendous performance. You got yourself some bonus points as well for leading some laps there. And we look forward to talking to you when we do the broadcast from Michigan. Maybe you'll have a win by then.
Are laps bonus points?
I believe you get a lap-led bonus point in this league.
I'm just going to point out that our second place runner up that was fortunate and a really good person decided to bail out and he's gone from Team Speed.
Last time I checked, Shane had to go to work.
Yes, his work was to be interviewed.
No, that's our work.
He has a job with Tesco.
Yeah, but we have a job too, you know.
I'm just going to take my Roger and leave. Thank you guys for everything you do. I'm pretty sure this is what Roger would say. Also, Shane is much more handsome.
Okay. And he said, bro.
Bruh.
All right. Well, let's
So
get.
who do you want to get in? I mean, do you want to get anyone else before we get the winner?
You know what? Usually, when we don't have all three of our top three finishers, why don't we bring in the fourth place finisher, Dejan Weeks, because he's another guy like you mentioned that he's going to be in that points battle as well. So let's get a word with the driver of the Smithfield Ford and Dejan. I mean, you got a front row seat of everything that went on there. All those wrecks under these green-white checkers, you survive them all, and you bring him home with a fourth place run.
Yeah. Hold on. I was just watching the race. Hold on. All right, we're good. All right, what?
So I want to get like your point of view from the cockpit there because, obviously it looked like you were going to be finishing somewhere around 6th or 7th place should we have gone green the entirety of this race, but then you survive all those green-white checkers. That seemed like a lot of mayhem there for you to have to miss.
Oh yeah. There was Richard and Natan were the only two who would make it on fuel, and my strategy was scuffed because I was hoping that I could like clutch some more, and as much as I was clutching, it just I wasn't making any like time back up. Just trying to save. I was still gonna be 3 laps short, so I just pitted a few laps after Shane did.
You gotta like. Go ahead, Dejan.
And yeah, I was just driving as hard as I could to get back up there. I probably would have had 8th or 9th maybe, but then those wrecks started happening.
I mean, you gotta admit, you were sitting there running, about 6th or 7th most of this race, and then all of a sudden you're up near the front. I mean, with those, I'm not sure whether or not your tires were really, killer after a few laps. I mean, how aggressive were you approaching the restart toward the end of that?
Oh, wait, those restarts, I just acted like there was no more time left in the race because there literally wasn't any more time left in the race. The entire race I was saving. I was lifting earlier than anyone else the entire time. I almost got ran over a couple times, but during the green flag runs, you got to look after your tires. That's the main important thing at this track. Just make sure you arc it correctly and whatnot.
I mean, granted, though, you come home with a 4th, which you gotta love that. That's a couple more spots, plus that's extra points. What's your mentality moving forward into Motegi now?
I'm not sure. I might miss the next race, so it all depends if I make the next race or not.
Seth Cole, you're being paid for a super sub.
I can't. It's a Monday night. We got something else going on. But one last question for you here, Dejan. I mean, we saw a lot of drivers try that second groove, especially on restarts. Was there anything to be gained up there, or was it really the bottom line that everybody was able to make work? Or maybe did that second groove possibly come in as the tires warmed up?
No, it was really the second groove is iffy on restarts and stuff. It can work if you really drive it in, but you're gonna kill your tires. So when you're on old tires, you just gotta run the same line over and over, arc it down to the white line, and just not kill your stuff. But when it's 2 laps to go and you're not worried about tires, fresh tires, you just send it and go.
I do want to ask something, Dejan, and it's kind of somewhat off topic real quick. Do you have any clue or any information about where one of the playoff contenders, Dylan Schwallenberg's been?
He just wasn't able to win. He wasn't able to race today. He's been busy with life, so it's just a good thing. He's got some good things going on in his life. So
Okay, but he has not announced that he's pulling out of the playoffs, correct?
oh well, he's already not eligible for the final 4. He has to make the three out of 4 races, and he's missed the first 2. So
Okay. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about with you, have you ever raced on Motegi?
no, that's as far as I don't know, maybe once or something, just like offline, just messing around with the AI or something. But other than that, no. It's just gonna be probably a one-line fest.
It seems like it's going to be a lot of firsts for the next week's race, Seth.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, Dejan, obviously we hope you are able to make next week's race because right now it's looking like it's going to be a heck of a battle, maybe points wise, between you, Shane, and Roger to maybe try and get that third and fourth playoff position. Should we not have new winners in the next 2 weeks? So we want to wish you luck on that. Obviously, maybe by the time we talk to you at Michigan, you'll have already had a victory and locked yourselves into the playoffs. But we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Shout out to Shane. I know the server switch over from NRT to RLM. It was pretty chill. Everything worked, so that's good. I'm not sure of the shout out really.
All right, well, that's Dejan Weeks. Brings it home 4th place here tonight at the Chicagoland Speedway. Keeps himself in the playoff hunt. Great run for you here tonight, and best of luck next week.
All right, thank you.
And let's get our race winner.
Well, it seems like why don't we just go down there because everyone's in the waiting room down
Yeah,
there.
everybody's in the waiting room. We can get like many interviews, but we're just gonna get our race winner here, who is talking to us from Victory Lane, Rick Johnson. And Rick, I mean, I could see the frustration level going up there. The caution comes out. You're out of turn 4, heading out of the final lap towards the final lap. Caution comes out. You got a green, white, checkered. Then we get another green, white, checkered. Then we get another green, white, checkered. I mean, at what point were you thinking, can we get this thing over with?
I was absolutely thinking that. You could literally probably just feel it and see it, and it definitely was, Seth. Yeah, I'm still relieved. At the same time, just happy that I finally got it done.
And with that win, you pretty much locked yourself up to a final spot there for the championship, Richard. How do you feel about that now? Regarding moving forward into like Motegi, are you gonna play Motegi and Michigan safe, or are you actually gonna try to go out and get wins anyway?
I mean, I'm still going to race like I normally race. I mean, I will try to race as conservative as possible as far as racing other people still going for it. I'll try my best just not to flat out run too hard and run somebody over or something because, I'm in, so that's a huge relief, and I'll just go and just do what I can do.
Now, you speak of running hard. We were watching you early on in this race. You grabbed the lead, you pulled away, Malin ran you down, passed you, and just pulled away, and you faded way back. Did you just use up too much of your stuff? Because after a while, I forgot who it was that we were looking at, Seth, but we saw that people were clutching right behind you directly, and I was wondering if you were, and I rode along with you, you weren't clutching at all at that point. So I'm just trying to figure out what was your mentality at that point when you fell back.
I was just trying to save a lot of tire to make sure my tires would last all the way to the end of fuel run. I was kind of paying attention to what fuel was, but I wasn't really certain exactly where we were at with it. I originally anticipated that I was going to be probably a little bit too short, and that the guys that did pit after us, after that whole restart scenario early on there on lap 20, was going to be the difference. And as it turned out, with how much lift time there was and fall off and all that, riding back for a little bit, saving just a ton of tire, and then go up there, last 6-7 laps, that's when I started clutching there at the very end of the run, and that seemed to work, and I was able to save enough.
We also saw you pit one or two laps before Natan did on that long green flag run that you guys had, and we were curious if you can make it the rest of the way if that caution didn't come out. How good were you on fuel at that point when you were coming to supposedly take the checkered at that point or come to the white flag? Did you actually make it a couple more laps, or was it pretty much right there on the cusp?
I probably could have made it one, maybe two more laps, all depending on what Natan was doing also. It was
Natan
tight,
had been screwed up at that point, though.
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it was close enough, but like I said, just being able to go out there and clutch lap after lap after lap after lap, literally from the end of the straightaway into the apex of the corner, you just, that's a lot of gas, you're saving there by getting off the throttle, where you would normally have to float the throttle and then let out of the throttle and use more revs. So it worked out. I would have been all right. So that was a heartbreak when that caution came out, but I was just glad I was able to hold on.
When you saw there was a issue with Poteet, because Poteet was with the same strategy that you and Natan were, and Poteet went to one of the corners, and he, from what I understand, he blew a tire and went right up into the wall. Did that make you think that maybe you might be stretching it too far with the tire wear?
Not necessarily. I mean, my tires, they were all yellow, but they weren't super close to red. They were all right. With this track, it's just like a lot of other tracks about just not steering too much and letting her roll through the corner. So, I mean, I wasn't too concerned. I think it's just all dependent on track position and where you're at, and if you're having the push to catch up to other guys and use just a little bit more tire, then that was easy to do here. So.
And yes, I realize I'm taking all your questions away from you, Steph. That's how you made me feel early.
No, it's okay. I still got one more that I wanted to ask here.
All right, go ahead.
That final restart, we saw you be able to get a nice jump that kind of stacked up on the outside line, so that gave you the advantage. But then we saw Shane's sides shoot up through the middle, and before we knew it, he was about half a car length behind you. Were you basically just looking out the windshield and letting whatever happened behind you happen, or were you keeping an eye on that 22, trying to see if he might make a move on you on the back straightaway on that final lap?
I mean, I was mirror driving pretty much the whole time, just making sure that nobody came out getting a run on me. Shane got a really good arc in there, and he was able to force 3 wide. He had to do what he had to do. And yeah, I was just being mindful to make sure nobody got a huge run on me. So I was just trying to defend that line and not overthrow the corner because it was really tight on cold tires first time.
Well, Richard, I mean, you came into this race 9 points behind the cut line, and you're heading into Motegi locked into the championship 4 at Homestead, Miami. So tremendous credit you here tonight. It almost worked on fuel strategy, but then it did work on those 3 overtime green-white checkers. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
I just want to say thank you to, first off, the guys that I race with week in and week out and have been great to me for the last couple of years. Brian, Kathy Voiles, and Bomb Squad Racing over there. Those guys are great. Great group of guys to race with. They've done nothing but supported me all the way and been through everything I've been through in my endeavors the last couple of years. And thank you to everybody out there that supported me in my streams and all that other good stuff and been with me the whole way.
Well, that's Rick Johnson. He joins Tyler Mallon for the championship.
And I want to bring up one thing, Rick, before I move you out. We coined a new phrase tonight.
What's that?
You know how we got Chevy Camaro? Apparently now we have a new competitor called Natan Kiani.
Yes.
Ooh, an interesting
Freudian
one.
slips.
I don't exactly understand what that means, but I will go with that. And one more thing, Zach Rogers sucks, and that's all else I'll say. Thank you guys. That was good.
Well, that's Rick Johnson. He's locked into the championship 4 at Homestead. Congrats on a great win. Go enjoy it.
Thank you.
And so that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight.
The full field rundown: Rick Johnson finishes with the win, Shane Side second, Roger Ray in third, Dejon Weeks fourth, and Dylan Pote comes away with the 5th place finish. 6th goes to Emmanuel Hartnett, 7th Dunn LaPrade, 8th Natan, and now I'm doing
See? It's easy to do.
Nathan Kiani, 9th would be Austin Ogo, and the top 10 will finish out with Natan. 11th, Charles Belding. 12th, Will Goss, Cole Baker, Cody Lamas, Tyler Mellon, top 15, followed by Felipe Teixeira, David Alvarez, Blake Warren, and Brendan McDowell in the 19th position. As we head on to Motegi next week for the next round of the playoffs. Seth, when are we going to be back for a broadcast?
Yeah, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. We'll be covering the penultimate race at Michigan, which will determine that Final Four that will be at Homestead Miami Speedway. And then the following week, we are broadcasting the season finale to find out who is going to be the Season 8 IMRC Cup Series champion. So 2 broadcasts finishing out the final 3 weeks here of IMRC.
Well, we're looking forward to that, aren't we?
Absolutely.
With the way they've been aggressive, and a lot of the racing that we've seen all season, they've been really aggressive, and so far every single finish has not been a complete letdown at all. They've been normally calm, smooth, and at the very end they get really, really aggressive, and they provide some really great racing that we get to witness.
Absolutely, and unpredictable too. I mean, I thought that race was over, that Rick Johnson was going to take the white flag, and he was maybe about 300 feet away from hitting the start-finish line for the white flag before that late caution came out. So it's one of those things you got to watch it all the way through because you never know what's going to happen there in the closing stages. And of course, with 2 wildcard races too coming up, the tire killer of Motegi, followed by the fuel strategy type race at the 2 Mile Michigan. That's going to be 2 very interesting races leading into that championship battle at Homestead. But our coverage concludes here this evening from Chicago. Rick Johnson, your winner of the Menards 135, and Jess, a wild one here this evening, obviously, and I appreciate you being with me every lap of the way.
Yep, it was fun, especially with those last restarts and listening to you butcher people's names.
It's a typical Flatout Racing Network broadcast when I do. But anyway, thanks everybody that tuned in this evening. Hope you enjoyed it as you've been watching another broadcast here, courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.